Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something big?
Sounds intriguing.
We're going to tackle the idea of eliminating the U.S. Department of Education.
Wow, okay. That's a that's a pretty loaded topic.
It is, and possibly a bit controversial too, right?
Definitely. Lots to unpack there.
Exactly. So we're looking at this article. 3 reasons why Trump ditching the Department of Education will especially hurt black students.
Right off the bat, sounds like it's coming from a specific angle.
Yeah, it was published just a few hours ago, and we'll definitely explore that perspective.
Makes sense. Gotta look at all sides.
But our main focus is going to be on the facts. You know, what this could actually mean for, well, for everyone.
Yeah, no, totally. This isn't some theoretical thing. This is a real policy proposal.
Right. And to be honest, I was surprised by something in the article. It said the Department of Education doesn't actually set school curriculums.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, or graduation requirements or credit schools.
Yeah. I think a lot of people just assume that's what they do.
Me too. I figured that was their whole job.
Nope. It's a common misconception. Instead of that day-to-day stuff in schools, they're focused on the big picture.
So what do they do then?
Well, they handle billions in funding for education across the country.
Okay, that makes sense.
And a big one is enforcing anti-discrimination laws in education.
Right, that's huge. And the article points out some potential problems, like disparities between states.
Oh, yeah, I can see where that would be a concern.
Like they use the example of Louisiana.
Okay, what about it?
Big black population, but ranked 49th in public school quality.
Oh, wow. That's not a good look.
Not at all. And that's where the idea of states having more control gets tricky.
Yeah, the whole decentralization debate.
Exactly. On the one hand, states could tailor education to their needs, which sounds good, right?
Right. In theory, it could be amazing. Each state knows what's best for their students.
But then there's the flip side.
Uh-oh, what's the catch?
What if quality and funding become totally uneven?
Ooh, yeah. Big problem.
Like, if your state decides education's not a priority, but another state invests tons of money.
You're going to see a huge gap in opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's worth thinking about, right? How might this impact your state based on its demographics and its education system?
Yeah, that's a question everyone needs to ask themselves.
And then there's the core issue the article brings up, the impact on black students.
Right, let's talk about that.
They have some serious statistics, like a 23% decline in black student enrollment since 2010.
Wow, 23%, that's a significant drop.
And over 80% of black students rely on financial aid for college.
Yeah, and we know they often face more student loan debt, too.
The article says they hold the highest student loan debt burden.
So you gotta wonder, if the Department of Education disappears and things shift to the states.
Could it make those existing issues even worse?
The article seems to think so, and it's a valid concern.
Now, the article focuses on black students, but this goes way beyond one group, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
We can't ignore the bigger picture here.
What about students with disabilities, low-income families, rural communities?
All valid points. All potentially impacted by this.
And the article does mention laws like Title IX for gender equality, Title VI for racial equality.
Right, those are crucial protections.
If there's no Department of Education to enforce them.
Things could definitely slip backward in some places.
Leading to more discrimination, less access to the resources students need.
Exactly. So this all boils down to one big question.
What does this mean for you? Whether you're a student, a parent, an educator.
Anyone who cares about education, really.
We're all stakeholders in this. We need to understand what's at stake, the potential consequences, good and bad.
Couldn't agree more. Think about it. How might this impact different communities within your state, maybe even across the country?
Now, the article makes it sound like getting rid of the Department of Education is a done deal, but is it really that simple?
I wouldn't say simple, no. It's a pretty complex process.
So what would have to happen?
Well, according to the article, Congress would have to approve it.
Okay, so it wouldn't happen overnight.
Right, there'd be legal challenges, public debate, the whole 9 yards.
I see.
Plus, the article says that if Republicans control Congress,
Yeah.
it might be easier for them to push it through.
Why is that?
Well, historically, Republicans have often favored smaller federal government, More control at the state level, especially with things like education.
So if they're in charge.
It could become a higher priority for them to dismantle the Department of Education.
That's interesting. So even though this is all complicated, there's a real chance it could actually happen.
There is. And even if it takes a while, the potential impact is huge. We got to understand what's at stake.
Yeah, how this could completely change education in America.
Exactly. And that's exactly why this whole thing is such a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. The article does a good job of explaining the big concern.
Right. The overall picture.
But I keep thinking about, like, what would this actually look like in schools, in classrooms, for teachers?
Getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. The article focuses on policy stuff, but the impact would be on the local level, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the teachers, the students who would really feel the change.
So think about it. If all the funding goes to the states,
Yeah.
how would that affect teacher salaries?
Ooh, that's a good point. Could some states attract great teachers while others struggle?
Exactly. And what about resources for the classrooms themselves? Textbooks, technology, special ed programs, all that costs money.
And if states are making all the decisions,
Would we see a bigger gap between well-funded schools and struggling ones?
very possible. And that's where losing federal oversight gets even more worrying.
Right, like the article talks about the Department of Education enforcing anti-discrimination laws.
Yeah, but it doesn't really go into detail about what that means.
I know. We're talking about laws like Title IX, making sure girls have equal opportunities.
Right. And the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA for students with disabilities.
Huge laws that have made a real difference.
Absolutely. But most people probably don't know much about how they work.
I agree. Like, take Title IX. It's been so important for girls in sports.
Absolutely. And addressing sexual harassment on campuses, even opportunities in STEM fields.
And IDEA, guaranteeing support for students with disabilities, helping them reach their potential.
We're talking landmark legislation here, stuff that changed education forever.
So if the Department of Education goes away,
Who's enforcing all this?
is there a risk that some states might just backslide?
Intentionally or not, yeah. Could we go back to a system where certain students are at a disadvantage?
That's a scary thought.
And it's not just about intentional discrimination either. Even with good intentions, some states might struggle to, replicate what the Department of Education does.
I see what you mean. It's not just about the money. It's about the expertise.
Right. Think about evaluating IEPs for students with disabilities. That's complex stuff.
Needs specialized knowledge, training.
And without clear federal guidelines, quality and access could become inconsistent from state to state.
Makes sense. It's about making sure every student has access to a good education.
Regardless of background, circumstances, any of that.
The article focuses on Black students, which is important, but we need to think about all the ways students can be marginalized.
Absolutely. Like we talked about IDEA for students with disabilities, but what about low-income students?
Oh yeah, Title I funding for schools in those communities, that's huge.
If that support disappears, the gap between wealthy and poor students could get even worse.
And what about rural communities? They already face so many challenges, teacher shortages, lack of resources,
Shifting everything to the states could make those problems even worse, leave rural students behind.
and LGBTQ plus students facing discrimination and bullying.
The Department of Education has given guidance and support to create safer, more inclusive schools.
Without that federal leadership, some states might not prioritize those issues.
It's true. It's a lot to think about, right?
It is. When you start connecting all these dots, it's overwhelming. It feels like eliminating the Department of Education could have huge negative consequences for so many students.
It's a lot to take in, for sure. It really shows how interconnected our education system is.
It's not just about academics, it's about a fair society.
Exactly. And the decisions we make about education, about funding, they affect us all.
But the article, while it lays out the problems, doesn't really offer solutions.
That's true. It's more about raising the alarm.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps to make sure everyone has access to good education?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the honest answer is the future's uncertain.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure what will happen with the Department of Education. And even if it is abolished, what replaces it? We don't know that either.
So what can we do? Just wait and see.
No, definitely not. Even without all the answers, we got to start asking the right questions.
It's tough, right? Feeling like we're at a crossroads, but with no clear map.
It is, yeah. But I think the article's biggest point is that this conversation is urgent.
Even without all the answers.
Exactly. We need to be asking if the Department of Education does go away.
Yeah.
What needs to be in place? What structures? What safeguards? So that all students still have access to good, equitable education.
So we're talking like no matter where you live, what your background is, your abilities.
All of that. That's the challenge we need to be thinking about right now, before it's too late.
Okay, so big picture thinking, that's step one. But what can we actually do, like as individuals?
Well, it sounds cliche, but knowledge is power, right?
Sure.
First step's got to be staying informed. Don't just skim the headlines or, rely on social media.
Yeah, easy to get caught up in the quick takes.
Exactly. Dig deeper, find articles from sources you trust, listen to podcasts like this one.
Get the full story.
Right, and talk to people with different viewpoints. The more you understand, the better you can advocate for the kind of education system you believe in.
So, informed citizen, check. What's next? Do we just sit around and wait to see what happens?
Oh, absolutely not. Once you are informed, that's when you speak up.
Okay, how so?
Contact your elected officials. Let them know what you're thinking, what your concerns are.
Right. Be an active participant.
Exactly. Advocate for the policies that you think will best serve students and teachers.
Our system relies on people actually participating, right?
100%. And you can even take it a step further. Organize community meetings. Go to town halls.
Get involved with advocacy groups.
Yeah. There's power in numbers. Collective action can make a real difference.
And while we're talking about action, what about education itself?
Ooh, good point.
We can all help raise awareness, encourage people to think critically about all this.
Absolutely. Talk to your friends, family, colleagues, share what you've learned, start those conversations.
Challenge those assumptions.
The more informed we all are, the better decisions we'll make as a society about the future of education.
Well said. And, it's important to remember, this isn't just some abstract political debate.
Right.
This is about people. This is about making sure that every kid has the opportunity to succeed, no matter their background.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we hope you're walking away with a better understanding of what eliminating the Department of Education could mean.
It's complicated, no easy answers.
But by staying informed, thinking critically, taking action, we can all play a role in shaping what education in America looks like.
And who knows, maybe by working together, having these tough conversations, we'll come up with some amazing solutions, things we haven't even thought of yet.
Solutions that create a better system for everyone.
A more equitable system, more effective, more inspiring.
Now that's a goal worth fighting for. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep learning, keep asking those tough questions, and keep fighting for the future of education.